Hey guys, it's Leo, and unfortunately, HUGTTO PRECURE is over. This season will be missed. It was a great season, one of the best seasons. It was amazing to watch, it was amazing to talk about every week, and it was full of surprises. But now that it's over and we are waiting for Star Twinkle PRECURE to start, let's talk about our favorite HUGTTO moments. And I decided to do a top 5 of my 5 favorite HUGTTO PRECURE episodes. I chose 5 episodes, but when I was listing episodes, I listed more than 10. So there were great episodes, and to narrow it down to 5, it was definitely not easy. So for number 5, I went with episode 16. Just a reminder, I'm not gonna say the episode names because I won't remember them without reading. So no names of the episodes, but episode 16 is my pick for number 5. Episode 16 was amazing. It was a very interesting episode. The episode was focused on Aki and Juna, who are secondary characters, and they're very good friends. But in this episode, they have a little fight. They don't really understand each other. But here's what I think that this episode did amazingly. When you focus on a secondary character and that secondary character has a problem, it cannot be the center point of the episode unless that character is important. It's very important for the series itself, or the characters are very loved. Because I think that the series, they will lose the pace a little bit. It happened a lot in classical Sailor Moon. They would focus on secondary characters which would never appear again, and it was like, why are they doing this? It happened a lot in the first season of Ojamajo Doremi. I'm not gonna say it happened a lot in other seasons because I haven't watched them, but it happened a lot in Ojamajo Doremi's first season. I remember they had like an episode for each person in the classroom. Come on. And it also happened in some episodes of Heartcatch PRECURE. But I think that HUGTTO did an amazing job in focusing on secondary characters. They had this little problem, but at the same time they were having problem, the plot was moving forward. We had Homare dealing with her feelings towards Harry. And one great thing they did in this episode was that it was raining. There was a point in this episode that it started raining, and Homare went to hide, and Harry ended up hiding with her, and they had a very nice moment. Homare had a lot of focus in this episode. There was also Hana's moment with George. It was a very tense moment, while also being very mysterious, and it was a scene full of flowers, and it was beautiful visually at the same time that it was a little scary. It was very mysterious. We didn't really know what to expect of that scene, so it was amazing. And at the same time, Lulu was also learning how to deal with her feelings towards the girls and towards being a villain. We also had Papuru as a schoolgirl, and that was awesome. I loved that. I love when villains get out of their attires and they wear something else, and I loved Papuru in that episode because she was so nicely drawn. She had her hair in braids. Oh my god, I loved it. And we also had a very interesting, nice fighting scene with Cure et al. At that time, we didn't have Mashiri and Amour yet, and we had Cure et al. Being amazing in the fighting scene. It was gorgeous, and the final moment of the episode was like, I think it was one of the first moments in HUGTTO that we went, wow, is this really happening? Papuru struck Lulu down with a beam and Lulu got broken. That scene is, I think that still, it's still one of the most shocking HUGTTO scenes. It was so full of emotion, and we were all so scared while we were watching that scene. At the same time, I was like, yes, Papuru, go show them your power. But I was feeling so bad for Lulu. I was feeling scared with the girls. Hudson was crying and screaming. Yell was really scared. Whoa, that was priceless. and that's why I think episode 16 was definitely one of the best episodes in HUGTTO PRECURE. And now, the fourth place is episode 42. This episode is a landmark in Precure history because of Cure Infinity. But there were many great things happening in this episode, and I feel like it really deserves a spot in the top 5. And yes, it was amazing. First of all, we had Undi. Undi is a great character. He is a very special character for me, and I explained it in many of my videos, many of my impressions videos. I explained why I really like Masato as a character as well. I think both of them, they really complement each other and they work so well together. And in this episode, we see Undi opening up to Hana. Undi is a very smart person, but he doesn't open up easily to others. He has a very, I won't say dark side, but he has a secret and he doesn't want to share his secret with anyone. And I felt that this made him block himself a little bit. And he opened up a little bit to Hana at the start. Hana designed a costume for him and he was competing. It was a very big moment for him, but he was not feeling confident at all. And we had a very big twist in this episode. Not really, it started back then, I think episode 33, if I'm not mistaken. But there was a seed of doubt in Undi, and the Kriesu Corp used it to transform him into a villain. And I thought that he was going to be a villain because of his injury in his foot, but no, there was an accident and he became even more handicapped than he was, and his dreams were completely crushed, and he believed that he couldn't do anything else. That moment is very powerful. I think that we all can relate to that. If you are an adult, you can probably relate to that. In some moment of your life, you can relate to that kind of thing. But that was a very beautiful moment, very, very sad moment. When he gave into darkness, it was all very well done and very well explained. I could understand him. I could say, okay, there is a legit reason for him to be going there. There's a legit reason for him to be in despair. And well, that's what happened. But he kept on believing in himself, and that's one of the main motives of HUGTTO. I think that one of the things that HUGTTO does very well is saying, never stop believing in yourself, no matter how old you are, no matter what you want to do, keep believing in you, keep believing in the power of your dreams, and you can do anything, you can be anything. And he was able to do that. He was able to blossom into a cure, and Cure Infinity was born. Special moment for Precure fans. It sparked a little bit of controversy because people were saying, oh my god, first male cure, we don't want male cures. While we had another side of the fandom saying, oh my god, first male cure, we really were expecting this moment. And let's be honest, I think I'm not gonna enter in this merit here because this is not the theme of the video. It was a great moment in the HUGTTO season. Undi was built in a very great fashion. In the whole season, he is a very well-written character. He's a developed character. We have Masato developing together with him, side by side. Beautiful, you know, and it culminated in that moment. And even after that, he lost his power of being an ice skater. And now he wants to figure out what he's going to do with his life. And he never stopped believing in himself, even though he lost a part of who he is. Because, you know, sometimes things like that define us, and that's okay, I think. But he was able to, you know, look at the future in a bright way and think, okay, now I need to figure out another thing for me to do. But I'm still going to keep on believing. I'm still going to keep on being Undi. And great episode 42. Amazing. Now we start our top 3. And for number 3, it's episode 22. Episode 22 was the first crossover episode in HUGTTO. And we had the presence of Cure Black and Cure White. But, of course, their presence made the episode even brighter. But I think that the greatest things about this episode were not the fact that it was a crossover episode. So Cure White and Cure Black came from another dimension. Thank you, Houghton. And when they appeared for no reason, apparently. But Lulu and Emu were having a problem in their friendship, and they were not really being able to communicate with each other. Emilu is a very young child, so it's okay for her not to understand how to deal with emotions and friendships. And Lulu is an android, so she's not really programmed to do something like friendships. So I think that the presence of Nagisa and Honoka were to teach those two girls how to work their differences, how to deal with those hard moments in their friendships. Because we have the dynamic duo of Precure, and both of them, they dealt with those moments in their seasons lots of times. They had breakouts in their relationships lots of times. They're great friends. And there's even a scene they say something like this, like, she's the person I like the most. But they learned how to deal with their differences, and they learned how to talk about that. And it was a lesson they taught Emiru and Lulu. So they ended up, dealing with their differences by learning from Black and White. But apart from that, another great thing this episode did was Papuru. Personally, my favorite. She had a great moment. That was the last moment we saw Papuru as a villain from this season, and she had her heart destroyed in this episode by George. It wasn't really his intention, I think, but she was completely devastated. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know what to believe in anymore, and she fell completely into despair. For that, she ended up becoming an Oshimaida, and the moment when she became an Oshimaida was so intense. She stabbed herself with dark energy, and that scene was like, wow. But before that, we had great scenes of Papuru trying to chase George, trying to chase trying to chase herself and trying to give meaning to her life and meaning to who she is. But she couldn't. And then she became a big Oshimaida, and she started fighting the Cures, but Black and White were there to save the day. The HUGTTO Cures, they're not very strong, they're not very competent. They're weak, okay? But Black and White were there. They were able to deliver a great moment in... we had a great fighting scene, Black and White against Papuru. They were able to defeat her, but they weren't able to purify Papuru, and Papuru was still feeling very sad, and she was crying, and that's when Amour and Mashiri entered. I think they debuted in episode 20, and this was episode 22, so it was very close to their debut, so there was a lot of focus on both of them. And they ended up going to where Papuru was, the big Oshimaida Papuru was, and they talked to Papuru's conscience, and that was such an honest and beautiful talk. We had Amour, who's Lulu, and she has no strings. She's not afraid to tell you like it is, and she did it. She did it to Papuru. She told her the truth, the honest, brutal truth. And Emiru as well, she gave a great speech to her. So you have a second chance. You can still believe in yourself. You can still believe that you can succeed. You still have to believe in life. And that's what happened. In the end, Papuru was purified, and I love that scene when Papuru and Amour and Mashiri, they hug Papuru, and Papuru's there with them. So precious. This episode, oh my god. And now for my second favorite episode. This was really hard. It was really hard trying to choose my favorite and second favorite, because those two episodes for me are like I don't even know, but I had to choose. This is a ranking. So for number 2, I went with episode 15. This is probably one of the best anime episodes ever. It's funny, it's intelligent, it's quick-witted, the animation is flawless. Everything about this episode is gold. And I just don't even know how to explain this episode. In this episode, we got to know Emiru a little more, and it's the episode that Emiru meets Lulu. Emiru is a girl who has a very strong sense of justice, and that's why she ended up creating the Pure Emiru persona. And I don't even know how to describe how much I loved the scenes with Emiru and Lulu together. The chemistry between both of them is brilliant, and it works really well for comedy, but it also works for emotional parts as well. They have a very strong connection over some different things that I find really important if we're thinking about Precure. So I feel like Emiru learned so much about herself in this episode, while also she sparked something in Lulu as well. So we had lots of funny moments with Pure Emiru trying to save everyone and save everything, but in the end she ended up failing in all of the situations. And then she got together with Lulu, and Lulu went to Emiru's house. We got to learn about Emiru's family. We saw Masato for the first time, who was a very hateful character. And I'm so glad that Masato exists. I'm so glad. I love Masato now. I really do. But then we had great moments with Lulu, with Emiru trying to hide her love for the guitar. Emiru loves guitars, but she had to hide it because of her family. They don't think that that's appropriate for a child, for a girl to do. And then Lulu, as being very analytical, as being totally rational, doesn't understand those kind of things. So she broke that rule right there. And I think that this episode shined in all of the things it tried to do. It was funny, but when it got to be emotional, it was emotional. And when Emiru told Lulu that she couldn't work with the guitar, she couldn't train because her family didn't like that, we all felt sorry for Emiru, but then we had Lulu confronting her brother about it. And come on, that moment, it was like, we were all rooting for Lulu and we're like, yes, girl, wreck it. And she ended up giving a great speech that works very well for what HUGTTO is always bringing. This message is really great and really important. And episode 15, like I said, did everything right. The fighting scene obviously could have been something else, but the focus of this episode wasn't even on the girls, wasn't even on the Cures. It was on Emiru and Lulu. The other three, they didn't even appear in this episode like for important moments. They did appear because they had to appear, but their participation is very short, and it was nice that they took a step back and let Emiru and Lulu take the stage, because it worked so well and it was very important for what was to come in HUGTTO. But episode 15, like, if you want to show an episode of HUGTTO for anybody to try to captivate the person, you show this episode, because this episode is gold. I think it's one of the best things to ever come out from the anime industry in general. I really believe it. Now, before talking about number 1, let's just say some honorable mentions, because we had many great episodes in HUGTTO. So we had an amazing episode 4 in which we met Homare for the first time, like really got to know Homare for the first time. Brilliant fighting scene, brilliant introduction to Homare's devils. Amazing episode. We had episode 13, which was Lulu's introduction to the human world. It was a very good episode. We had episode 24, 4, that pool episode. That episode was amazing because Papuru appeared as a human, and that was, oh my god. And we also saw Hana trying to understand herself a little better, trying to feel more secure in herself. We also saw Lulu and Emilu performing in a stage. Oh my god, it was so nice. We also had episode 46. Episode 46 was amazing. Like the start of the end. It was a great episode. I really liked it. We also had episode 30 or 31, I don't remember, the Hana episode, in which she met one of the people that were responsible, in a way, for her bullying and for her hard moments in the school. It was a great episode as well. We also had an amazing episode, I think it was episode 33, in which Emiru was feeling very unconfident in her skills, while also Andri was also feeling unconfident because of his problem. That's when Listel appeared for the first time for him, and he left a Kriyasu Corp card. But let's talk about our first, the number 1. This was the best episode of HUGTTO PRECURE to me. And this is episode 37. This is the crossover episode. We had 2 big crossover episodes, 36 and 37. 36 was great, but 37 for me is the best HUGTTO PRECURE episode. And I'm going to explain why I chose this episode over episode 15, which is also great. And I think episode 15 is a greater episode in a narrative sense, in an artistic sense. But I cannot let my fanboy heart aside. I can't. So I chose episode 37 as my favorite because, you know, it was an All-Stars movie. It was even better than most All-Stars movies. I'm gonna be honest here. It was even better. It was an episode in which all of the Cures appeared, and even though most of them didn't speak, we saw the girls fighting. We saw the girls doing things based on who they are, based on their powers. We could see that the people who wrote that fighting scene really loved Precure because they knew about every single cure. They knew about their powers, they knew about their personalities, they knew why they had the groups organized that way. And you know, that scene, the fighting scene, was brilliant. It was brilliant, and I thought that it was so beautiful, stunning, and so well done. You know, that scene in which the pink cures, the leaders, fought. Come on. And you know, it's interesting because if you think, like, we have 15 seasons of Precure, so we have 13 leaders, if I'm not mistaken. They were able to showcase in a little short amount of time the abilities of each of them and the way each of them fought, because we have 13 leaders, but each of the leaders has her own way of fighting. Each of the leaders has her own approach in battles, and they were able to show that. But not only the leaders, you know, the way they divided the teams, the way they worked with the teams, brilliant. But there was also a very interesting point about this episode. This was a special 15-year anniversary episode. Yes, it was, but it didn't really leave the plot behind. The plot in HUGTTO was still moving because we had Dr. Trom delivering his big attack. And that's what he did in episode 36, and now in episode 37, it all came to a close and Dr. Trom was purified. But not only his purification was important, he was able to remember his connection with Lulu. He was able to remember why he made Lulu in the first place. And that is important because in a few episodes next, that is going to come back. And he's going to make his own comeback in like a different fashion, and it's going to be important for Lulu and for her destiny. So 37 is my favorite, but HUGTTO PRECURE, how can I explain? Great season. And let's never forget, nandemo dekiru, nandemo nareru. And HUGTTO will always be in my heart, and I want to thank everybody who stayed with me throughout this year, watching, commenting, talking about HUGTTO, and fangirling about things, complaining about things. But in the end, we all had. I hope you had a great experience because I did, and I really like talking about HUGTTO, and I really like talking about Precure because I think that it's always nice sharing our opinions, and it makes the experience even better. For me, at least, it does. It makes the experience even better. It's really nice, like going back and watching some of my impressions videos and seeing what I thought for each of the episodes that I talked about here today. So thank you so much for keeping up with me. Thank you for this long video. Oh my god, this is really long, but HUGTTO really deserves like a big special goodbye. But I want to hear from you. Which were your favorite episodes? Do your top 5 and leave it in the comment box below, and let's keep talking. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, bye bye.